You won't believe what happened in this courtroom. Judge Urich is facing off against L. Stringer, a defendant who refuses to play by any rules. Right from the start, L. Stringer claims he's not himself but a living entity and the beneficiary of an estate, asking the judge, "How do you charge a dead entity?" Yes, really. The tension quickly ramps up as the judge reads the charges, 2 counts of public indecency after an incident in a public park. But this isn't just any case. The prosecution exposes L. Stringer's long criminal history, including weapons charges, assault, and evading arrest. Despite the defendant demanding a personal bond with a GPS tether, the judge sets a whopping $50,000 cash or surety bond, making it clear the court is in charge, no matter what L. Stringer claims. Things get even stranger when questions about L. Stringer's mental state arise. His attorney requests a competency evaluation, pointing out concerns about whether he can legally assist in his own defense. The judge agrees, noting that while L. Stringer may be smart, intelligence alone doesn't guarantee he can stand trial. Meanwhile, L. Stringer continues to demand the removal of his court-appointed counsel, refusing to cooperate at every turn. By the end of the hearing, the courtroom is in chaos. The proceedings are paused for a competency review, leaving everyone wondering. Will L. Stringer face trial, or will his unusual tactics change everything? This is one of the most bizarre courtroom showdowns you'll ever see, and you won't want to miss a single second.
Mr. Stringer does not acknowledge or consent to this hearing. Is that correct, Mr. Stringer?
I do not identify. I identify as the beneficiary that is here to protect Derek Stringer.
Very well, Mr. Stringer. The court is going to read the charge into the record since the formal reading is not waived. Mr. Stringer, on or about June 16th of 2024, you did knowingly make an open or indecent exposure of your person while fondling your genitals in a public area, contrary to the statute so made and provided at Michigan Compile Law 750.335A, subparent 2, subparent B. The court advises you that this is referred to as a Tier 1 offense under the Sex Offender Registry Act. There is a count 2 misdemeanor in that on the same date you did knowingly make an open or indecent exposure of your person contrary to the statute so made and provided at Michigan Compile Law 750.335A, subparent 2, subparent A, commonly known as indecent exposure.
Sir, excuse me, sir. You have not talked to my beneficiary yet. You have not talked to the person who owns the estate yet.
Mr. Engot, the court is making a notation of court-appointed counsel to run through the IDSO office, and that new counsel, as appointed by Mr. Mena, can make whatever judgments they wish to make and make any motions they wish to make at Mr. Stringer's first probable cause conference. Mr. Stringer, this matter is now being set for a probable cause conference. That will be on a new date. The law entitles you to what they refer to as a preliminary examination within 21 days of this arraignment today.
He also has a lengthy criminal history out of Texas, going from as recent of these warrants, which were entered last year, back to around 2015, receiving charges for evading arrest and detention, unlawful possession of a firearm by a felon, assault, family, house member impeding breath or circulation, several other assault charges, a weapons charge, and then also like falsifying assault from 2019 out of Hartwood Woods, which looks like it was deferred as assaulting a public officer or obstructing.
Judge, despite the fact of these charges and what was listed by the detective, I believe that with the GPS tether, that certainly would give this court, pretrial services, and any other entity overseeing Mr. Stringer during the pendency of this matter, notice of where he would be within 3 feet, is my understanding, with that tether. I don't think a cash bond is necessary. I would ask the court to give him a personal bond with the GPS tether.
Given everything that's before the court at this time, the court will set bond in the amount of $50,000, cash or surety, no 10%. Stringer wishes to bring various motions before the examining judge. And that could include a motion to modify his bond. That is his right and his privilege. But at this time, that is the bond as set by this court. Mr. Stringer, that concludes your arraignment, sir.
Sir, so I can't get out on a personal bond?
That's correct, Mr. Stringer. You cannot get out on a personal bond. 50,000 cash or surety with the appropriate conditions that were already listed by the court. That completes your arraignment, sir.
Sir, so what is going on with what is going on right now?
I'm sorry, sir?
I'm being charged. I'm being charged an entity that is.
Can you please move up so the court could hear you?
I said, how do you charge a dead entity, sir?
I'm sorry, say that again?
How do you charge a dead entity, sir? And
It just happened right before your eyes. The court has jurisdiction over you, sir. Venue and jurisdiction have been established by sworn testimony. That completes your arraignment. Good luck to you.
I myself as Lynn Stringer. I'm a living entity.
Okay, is there another name that you go by, sir?
Living entity, I'm the beneficiary, so I go as a job. And I want to fire that counsel. I don't want him.
All right, so there's a number of things to unpack here. All right, so let's walk through this. So did he make it known to you that he wished to no longer proceed with your services?
Judge, we discussed the case fully, and I had a lengthy phone call with one of his relatives, and it was my intention to ask the court to refer this to the Forensic Center for a competency evaluation.
I do think it, given your experience and then your connection with him as well as a family member, plus the way the defendant has presented today, that a competency review is in order. And so I'm happy to move forward with that. So Mr. Stringer, there is, just so you understand, there has been some preliminary information that suggests that you may not be competent to proceed at this particular time. Whether that's a correct assertion is basically a decision that can only be made after an investigation is done to determine whether or not you can, that you understand the nature of the proceedings, that you can assist your attorney. We need to find those things out. And so, Ms. Mott-Lewis, can you prepare an order for competency review? Wait to consider that request until I can determine whether or not he's competent. If I would remove Mr. Sanutko off the file, if I would remove him off the file based on a request made by a person who's later determined to be incompetent, I think that would be a real issue. And so at this point in time, I'm going to grant the request.
What label, excuse me,
Evaluation.
What labels me incompetent? My intelligence, because I have a high IQ?
No, that's not it, sir. There are different legal standards, but really it comes down to whether or not you can understand the nature of the proceedings at this time, that you have the ability
I oversee the nature of the proceedings.
That you have the ability to assist your attorney in your defense.
To withdraw, sir. I do not want my legal counsel. Actually, he did not reach out to the person that my relative told him to reach out to my father, and he didn't do that. My father was going to tell him that we wanted him to withdraw. He did not reach out to my father. He only reached out to Stephen Taylor. Stephen Taylor gave him my father's number, and he did not do that. So I would like him to withdraw from my case, sir. I have no. So he isn't competent enough for me.
You are about to witness one of the most bizarre courtroom encounters ever recorded. Judge Urich is sitting at the bench, but it quickly becomes clear that this hearing will be anything but ordinary. Across the room sits L. Stringer, a defendant who refuses to play by any rules, a man who challenges the very foundations of the courtroom. Right from the start, he refuses to identify as himself. He claims he is not L. Stringer, but a living entity, the beneficiary of an estate, a person or entity who cannot be charged like an ordinary defendant. He leans forward, looks at the judge, and asks one of the most surreal questions you'll ever hear: how do you charge a dead entity? The courtroom freezes for a moment. The air is thick with tension. Everyone in the room, from the judge to the bailiffs, knows this is not going to be a normal hearing. Judge Urich, calm but resolute, begins reading the charges. 2 counts of public indecency stemming from an incident in a public park. But L. Stringer isn't listening. He continues to challenge the authority of the court, questioning whether any of this applies to him, insisting that his identity makes him immune to standard laws. The prosecution begins to lay out a chilling history. This is not a first-time offender making an unusual argument. L. Stringer has an extensive criminal record stretching across Texas, including weapons charges, assault, and evading arrest. Each piece of evidence, each charge, is met with a bizarre counter from Stringer, who refuses to acknowledge the seriousness of the allegations. The courtroom starts to feel less like a place of law and more like a theater of the absurd. When bond is discussed, the tension ratchets up even further. L. Stringer requests a personal bond with a GPS tether, claiming his sovereign status should allow him special treatment. The judge is unshaken, setting bond at $50,000 cash or surety, making it clear that regardless of his identity claims, the law applies. The exchange between judge and defendant is electric. Every word from Stringer is meant to provoke, to challenge, to disrupt. Yet, the judge maintains control, addressing each claim with patience and precision, asserting the court's authority without raising his voice. But the drama doesn't end there. The defense attorney steps in, raising concerns about Stringer's mental state. She requests a forensic competency evaluation, worried that he may not be able to assist in his own defense. Judge Urich acknowledges that while Stringer may be highly intelligent, that alone doesn't guarantee the ability to understand or participate in his trial. The courtroom is tense, every eye is on Stringer as he continues to refuse cooperation, continuing to demand the removal of his court-appointed counsel. As the hearing stretches on, Stringer's arguments grow more elaborate. He questions legal identity, jurisdiction, and the very power of the court. He presents theories that seem to exist in a world entirely separate from the one the judge is operating in. Every attempt by the court to bring him back to reality is met with defiance, confusion, and a hint of spectacle. The tension builds with each exchange. You can almost feel the pulse of the courtroom climbing, as if everyone knows that what they are witnessing is extraordinary. The judge carefully navigates every claim. He doesn't mock, he doesn't raise his voice, but his words are firm and deliberate. He reaffirms the law, explains the charges, and calmly asserts jurisdiction. Stringer, undeterred, counters at every opportunity. He refuses to acknowledge the charges directly, he rejects the bond conditions, and he openly questions the competence of the court itself. The entire exchange is a masterclass in defiance and control. Throughout this extraordinary hearing, the human drama unfolds. Observers watch a man challenging a system designed to enforce rules and order, questioning the very foundation of law, identity, and authority. The courtroom becomes a stage where logic clashes with delusion, where rules meet rebellion, and where patience is tested to its absolute limit. As the hours drag on, it becomes clear that the proceedings cannot continue without first addressing a critical concern: competency. The judge pauses the hearing, ordering a forensic evaluation to determine whether L. Stringer can legally stand trial. This decision leaves the courtroom in suspense. Will Stringer be found competent? Will his claims delay justice even further? The tension hangs in the air like a storm about to break. Yet, even as the hearing is paused, Stringer refuses to relent. He demands his counsel be removed, questions the authority of every decision, and continues to assert his identity in ways that baffle and frustrate the court. What unfolds is not just a legal proceeding but a psychological spectacle. Every word, every gesture, every argument contributes to a story that is as unbelievable as it is unforgettable. By the end of the hearing, the courtroom is left with more questions than answers. L. Stringer's tactics, his refusal to cooperate, and his extraordinary claims create a situation that will be studied for years. This is not a simple case of indecent exposure. It is a case of defiance, identity, and the limits of authority. The courtroom has witnessed a rare clash between individual rebellion and institutional order, a confrontation that blurs the line between legal procedure and theatrical spectacle. And through it all, Judge Urich remains steady, firm, and unshaken. He enforces the law, addresses every claim, and maintains order amidst chaos. L. Stringer continues to challenge, confuse, and defy. The tension, the drama, and the strangeness of this hearing make it one of the most unforgettable courtroom encounters ever captured on video. From start to finish, this is a story that will leave viewer questioning, shaking their heads, and completely captivated.